The Worst Equestrian Necromancer, Chapter 15, A Bone to Pick. Princess Cadance had been searching for her husband for 2 hours now. Though she still felt a warm tingle every time she thought about him finally being her husband, she couldn't deny that she was quite annoyed at his disappearance. He normally followed a strict schedule during work hours, always making the same rounds, following the same paths, and doing the same jobs. Granted, that was mostly to keep new guards from overworking themselves in fear of surprise captain ambushes, but still, it made her waiting to surprise him outside of his office confusing when she eventually got bored and wandered inside to find it vacant. She was now searching the various tea rooms in case Shining had been the victim of a princess-tier kidnapping. She entered Celestia's private tea room, eyeing it suspiciously for any sign of her beloved. Her eyes paused in an envelope with her cutie mark crudely sketched on it in Shining's trademark lack of style. She smiled as she opened it to read the notes, but then frowned.
What?
The note was short and simple. It explained that Rhaegar had asked him for help in a quick experiment, and that Celestia was supposed to let Cadance know where he'd gone. The note had been left to stop Cadance from worrying when Celestia inevitably decided it would be funnier to have her wander around the castle looking for her husband. She stomped over to the orb in the corner and angrily flicked it with her magic, causing piano music to fill the room. She glared at the orb, until it eventually snapped into the shape of Rhaegar, completely clad in a rubbery bright yellow outfit aside from a transparent faceplate that revealed a skull. He smiled and waved.
Greetings, fair princess of love. Rhaegar just sent young armor back to Canterlot's. How can the master of evil help you?
Cadance gave Rhaegar a hard stare.
Oh, how about we start with you explaining why you stole my husband without telling me?
She pointed an accusatory huff at him, shaking in barely restrained anger. Rhaegar flinched from her, covering his shielded face.
But please, no kill! Rhaegar simply needed a portion of the Changeling Queen's magic from the leftover spells on Shining Armor!
Cadance paused. She hadn't even known that there were leftover spells on her husband. Rhaegar slowly stood back up when there were no further outbursts, but then flinched a second time at the sound of a small explosion.
Oh, it seems that the flesh-eating liquid reacts explosively to oxygen.
There was a second, much wetter-sounding explosion, followed immediately by Rhaegar's outfit being splattered with purple goo.
Twice. Rhaegar didn't know something could explode twice.
Cadance stared dumbfounded as the ooze started slowly eating through his outfit. Rhaegar watched with interest as it sank to the floor, leaving his suit in tatters. Not content to stop there, it began hissing on contact with the stone. Her rage forgotten, Cadance spoke up.
Are you okay?
Rhaegar straightened up.
What? Oh yes, Rhaegar's fine. He had to fight off a group of vicious foes only a few weeks ago. It will take more than acid to keep him down.
Cadance reverted to Celestia's tried and true method for actually continuing conversations with Rhaegar, ignored the strangeness, and moved forward.
Okay then, where is my husband?
Rhaegar paused, before waving his hand at something Cadance couldn't see.
Rhaegar sent him back with Pointy. He should be arriving momentarily.
Cadance stared at Rhaegar with annoyance for a moment before hearing the telltale tapping of whatever skeletal horror Rhaegar had sent with her husband. She turned and saw it. The bird that had led her in a merry chase across the castle while it kept her from her gifted book. The fact that Shining Armor was sitting in a saddle on his back did a little to abate her rage.
You...
Rhaegar watched with interest as Cadance angrily stomped towards the skeletal bird. Pointy looked between Cadance and Rhaegar for a moment, then sprinted away from the window. Cadance bolted after him, the soft glow of her horn dragging the image of Rhaegar along behind her.
Get back here with my husband, you bag of bones!
Rhaegar watched with amusement as Pointy ran through the gardens, Cadance hot on his heels. He couldn't really take the time to examine anything as Cadance chased after Pointy, but he waved to the guards as they raced past and idly watched as Cadance lost Pointy briefly near the garden maze. Cadance paused and took flight, quickly reacquiring her target with her bird's eye view. Pointy was sprinting for all he was worth, and though cassowaries can reach rather impressive speeds, Pointy could not match the speed that the perturbed pink pony princess could fly. As Cadance closed in, she reveled in her imminent victory, until Rhaegar spoke up.
Rhaegar wonders where Pointy put Captain Armor.
She froze mid-flight as the lack of a saddle on the skeletal nuisance registered. Pointy took the opportunity to escape, disappearing deep into the hedge maze. Cadance began flicking her head side to side.
Oh my gosh, where did he go?
She began rising and falling, trying to hunt down where the bird had dropped off her husband. Eventually, she turned to Rhaegar, who was apparently enjoying his impromptu trip through the gardens, and had been inspecting a statue of Celestia that Cadance had been hovering near.
Hey you! Where's Shining Armor?
Rhaegar looked to her, shrugging.
Rhaegar will admit that he does not know exactly. At the time Pointy was supposed to drop him off, Rhaegar was distracted by a pair of guards having a lovely romantic walk.
Cadance froze.
You knew when I was going to drop off Shiny?
Rhaegar nodded.
Of course, but since you took me out of the palace while using the messenger spell, Rhaegar was enjoying the view.
Cadance paused. It made sense that Rhaegar would take the opportunity to look at areas of the castle that he rarely, if ever, got to see. He was clearly enjoying it. That said, of all the times to get distracted. Wait, he'd said it was a pair of guards.
That's it!
Rhaegar looked towards her again, but was abruptly obscured by smoke billowing up from his ethereal floor. As they covered the image, she heard his voice.
What's it?
Cadance resisted the urge to check on Rhaegar as she focused her magic, keeping Rhaegar there for a chewing out later.
The couple that you saw. I can track their love.
Quickly focusing her magic, she sensed a few trails that could be the couple. Choosing the one that seemed the most recent, she flew after it with abandon. As she neared the source of the love, she heard a hacking cough behind her that made her slow her flight to look at the image. Rhaegar's manifestation was now almost completely encased in black smoke, though she could still see a single yellow-gloved hand waving around in the smoke. Rhaegar's voice echoed oddly through the smoke.
Jeeves, take note! The substance reacts with whatever is below me by spewing black smoke. We may have reached a breakthrough.
Cadance stared in utter confusion as the snap echoed throughout the garden and the smoke vanished. What little remained of Rhaegar's yellow suit was now burned at the edges. Despite that, he seemed proud of himself.
Jeeves, we've done it! Whatever it mixed with gave the perfect reaction for the reagent that we need!
Cadance continued staring for a moment as Rhaegar began to do a silly little dance before resuming her flight. She could puzzle out whatever Rhaegar was doing later. When she reached the end of the trail, she indeed found a pair of guards, laughing at something hidden from her view by a large bush. She landed beside them, producing a few loud clops.
Excuse me, you two, I'm looking for someone. Have you seen Captain Armor around here?
Both ponies laughed without turning. Yeah, said one. I don't know what he was doing, but I don't think it ended the way he planned. Cadance peeked over their shoulders. There was her shining armor, still on his saddle. His eyes were whirling about in his head as he moved his hoofs to try to escape. He was instead slowly entangling himself in the bush. She smiled at the display and turned to Rhaegar. Before she could say anything, she was blinded by a flash of light. Blinking away her blindness, she saw Rhaegar holding a camera. Before she could comment, he snapped a bony finger, ending the call. She huffed in annoyance. She had wanted to complain at him again for full-napping Shiny, but she supposed it was fine for now. She smiled at the sight of her husband, then at the two guards in front of her. A new couple to watch and her husband safely returned. The day was looking up. There's an endless amount of work and shenanigans to be had. While it may be a pain in the ass, it's much better than being bored. Anyways, let's get on to our fun donators. Top donators are 630, J Tinman, Darkside, Only One Thing, and Ceru Orion. Rayden, Narwhals, Blackmoonheart, Pastel Skies, Austin Roland, Stu Hex, Sword Brother and Mordred, Omicron Lyrae, Will, Chris, Twinkie, Hadzaza, Rightful, Iron Sky, Badass Waffle, Shadow Moon, Luigi88, and many more flattering people. Thank you all so much for watching this video and live life to the fullest.